Welcome to More Than Dentistry, where your hosts Evert and Waldo discuss life, dentistry, and everything in between with dentists around the world.
Hello and welcome to the More Than Dentistry podcast.
Okay, nou kan ek julle hoor.
Great, Howard, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and your input.
Pleasure to be with you guys. Great to see what you guys are doing. I must say it's very forward thinking, and it's such a pleasure to see South Africans getting involved in this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think we're going to introduce Howard Gluckman, but he needs no introduction. I think everyone around the world knows him. It's the first time we're interviewing him on the More Than Dentistry podcast. Me and Waldo actually said when we interview you, we want to do it live. We want to be with you, but I think with the coronavirus, everything going around the world, I think this is the closest we'll get to it at the moment. So for those of you who don't know Howard, you should get out under your rock and start doing stuff in the world. Howard is, I think, our biggest export in dentistry in South Africa. He's a periodontist based in Cape Town, and he's also the clinical director of the Implant Academy, where we all learned how to place implants. I met my wife at one of his courses, so I owe him a big debt.
I didn't know that, Evert, but that's brilliant news. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's
sometimes
so cool.
sometimes I'm angry with the Implant Academy, but most of the times I'm happy.
Good. That's great to hear.
Howard, thanks so much for being with us. I think you like I said, you're a legend in the industry and one of our heroes. So it's lucky to spend time with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I must say, I think our biggest export in South Africa in dentistry has to be David Garber, and one can never underplay that. I think David Garber is amongst the gods, and still to this day is considered that. So I'm nowhere near the biggest export from South Africa. I think he without a doubt we stand on his shoulders, and he has broad shoulders, that's for sure. But thanks for having me, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Howard, we were gonna talk a little bit later. We made it a little bit earlier, and I think it's the first time ever that you thought today was Sunday. It's a Monday. Howard said,
it's crazy. You know, I mean, it's like time's just become blurred. You know, I mean, it's such a surreal situation to be in.
It's crazy, especially for someone that's busy all the time, and all of a sudden you sit there and you've got nothing to do. But just tell me, Howard.
That's not happening.
I can imagine. That's what I want to.
I have to tell you, I'm pretty much working from morning till night. We are so busy at the moment trying to get everything together and things back online that it's just it's crazy. I mean, I don't say I work any harder, but I'm just working as hard as I do normally.
So what are you guys doing? You're busy taking the Implant Academy online. Is that what keeps you busy?
Yeah, and I think, I've always wanted to. It was always been a plan of mine to go online, and obviously this has now forced us into that position where we have to go. But the crazy thing is, I didn't really realize how much planning and input really went into it. And I mean, the amount of meetings that I've had with the lecturers and stuff like that. I mean, we've spent hours and hours and hours just talking and thrashing out and, plotting a way forward and things like that. It's really, it's no easy task. And for the people out there that have really done it and have got their stuff online, it's incredible, what they've been able to achieve, I must say.
And I can imagine, especially for guys like you, that's a very hands-on course that you teach. It must be a difficult thing to try and replicate online.
Yeah, well, you can never. I mean, hands-on is such a critical part of the whole course, so there's always a difficult part to that. But we've got something in the pipeline, and I've got some of the companies on board with regards to hands-on, and we'll look at and see how we actually manage to do that at a later stage. But at the moment, we are basically just focusing on online lectures and stuff like that. And I think it's got lots of potential because, number one, there's updates and there's upgrades all the time. So from a point of view of being able to teach, I mean, the guys who did lectures, say 10, 15 years ago, and I mean, the academy's been going since, I've been teaching since 1996. The academy, I've been at the universities, the academy's been going, I think it started in 2004 as the official academy, although we had something going before that. So, I mean, there are a lot of guys that have done courses through the years, you know what I mean, and who haven't really kind of upgraded their knowledge. So we've got lots of potential for not only new people coming to the academy, both locally and around the world, but also the potential for people who want to just kind of do a refresher course and to come back, and you know, they might not necessarily want to do the hands-on, and just to be able to kind of work with that and do a refresher course and just get an idea of what the current trends are. And I think that's a critical feature of what we're going to try and achieve for them.
Yeah, I think you just touched on it briefly. I think periodontics is the one field in dentistry that's changed so much over the past, let's say, 20 years. So I think it's a thing that's constantly evolving, and with all this stuff being developed, like the new drills that's coming out, it's something you have to be on top of. You can't just do a course and then think you're set for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at my lectures, I mean, my lecture from year on year, never mind that, I think lecturing around the world, it kind of gives you a unique perspective on the fast growing technology. And I must say it's a real privilege to be able to do what I do, and to travel every month to another country and lecture it's mind blowing, because you get to rub shoulders with brilliant people all the time, and they're sharing updated technology, new technology. And if I tell you, I'm at the moment on a curve of learning myself, you know, personal growth in the digital field, you know what I mean, where I didn't jump in right at the beginning, but, you know what I mean, I've now jumped in my entire body has gone into digital dentistry, whereby, you know, I think just before I left, I got this massive box from Navident, which is a dynamic guided surgery system, you know what I mean, where you actually work dynamically. You're working basically on CBCT, watching where your drill goes as you're drilling. You know what I mean? I don't know how many people know about dynamic navigation, but it's certainly the first one in the country, and I've been trained on it, and I can't wait to get back to work and start utilizing that. So digital dentistry on its own in the field, guided surgery, you know, full arch surgery, all that kind of stuff, everything's kind of exploded. And then as you say, the technology of drilling, the technology of you know, the Versa technology, Densar drills, etc. I mean, just in the way we do implantology, and then the guided cases, the planning, you know, the way everything's gone. It's just, I think dentistry is such an incredibly exciting time to be in. I mean, to be young at this point, to be at your guys' age in this current time, I suppose I don't want to swear, but
you're allowed to swear.
it is just phenomenal. You know what I mean? Because there's so much brilliant stuff. You know what I mean? I'm actually a little bit sad that I'm not 20 years younger and getting into it now, because it's just amazing. It's just amazing what, you know, and where you guys are going to go to at your age and your level. It's just, wow. It's brilliant.
Howard, if I can ask you a question, I think it's almost like a nature-nurture question. What do you think sets you apart from the rest of your colleagues and so on, of being able to have the opportunities and the drive to get you where you are at the moment and going forward?
I think you can sum it up in one word, and that's passion. I don't think you can, and maybe drive. I mean, you know, I'm you know, maybe two words. So passion and drive. I mean, I love what I do. I love everything. I love surgery. I love teaching. I love sharing, and I love seeing other people succeed. You know what I mean? And I think if you have the passion and then also the drive, I mean, I think, you know, the one thing is, I'm single-minded in my passion to improve and to be one of the best, and it's always been my, you know what I mean? It's always been my mantra right the way through my life, and I think that kind of gets set in childhood, really. You know what I mean? As to how you are, I'll never forget Ursula Jenkins from Dentistry SA. I was quite embarrassed. You know, she she caught me once and she said to me, I'll never forget when I first met you as a registrar at the university. And she said, what do you want, where do you want to be? What do you want to be when you've qualified? And I said to her straight out, I want to be the best in the world. And she said it to me in front of a whole lot of other people, and I was quite embarrassed because it sounded a bit arrogant as a thing. But I suppose I don't think I am the best in the world, but if I can strive to be that, then the striving is just as good as being it, I think. You don't have to be the best in the world, but you want to strive. You want to strive for perfection in everything that you do, and strive for perfection in life, really, not just in dentistry, but in life, and being the best human being you can, being kind to others, sharing kindly, talking nicely to the waiter just as well as you talk to a CEO. Those are key factors of striving. So dentistry, as much as it is also my own human development is just as important to me, and being that person is just as important. In fact, maybe more.
Howard, can I just ask you to go back? We're talking to young dentists, guys just coming out of dental school and out of community service, and a guy who wants to start getting into implants. What do you think is the way forward? He's never placed the implant. He's never had experience at university. What is the first step a guy should take to get into implantology?
Well, I think this is where the Academy has a unique ability to teach. It just depends on what level they're at. I think what's nice is that the Bridge program has just come under the Academy umbrella. And for those of you who don't know what the Bridge program is, it's courses run by Jean van Lierop and Corné Smit, two unbelievably dynamic people. I don't know if you've spoken to them, but if not, certainly people you want to have on your podcast. Yeah, we've spoken to both of them, yeah. Yeah, so you've experienced and spoken to them, and really two unbelievably dynamic and passionate people with huge drive. Just very like-minded people to myself, and they have put together a unique program for South Africans, and I suppose really for anyone around the world who's just come out of dental school. And are you going to get corona? Eh? Careful.
I've got a case.
Got a case of corona. Just who coming out of dental school, because unfortunately a lot of dental schools, and I can't speak for international ones, only for the South African ones and maybe the dental schools that are in third world countries, but we're really coming out with students that haven't really got a lot of understanding. They might understand the biology of what they're doing, but when it comes to technical dentistry, the nuts and bolts of dentistry and what's new and what's happening, they haven't got it. And I think that for them is a great place to start, because it really just kind of shows them how to do good dentistry, which is such a key factor and such a limiting factor, because they take you through the basics, and then from there on out, anyone wanting to get into implantology, there's either the Academy if one wants to do that, or there's also online courses. I mean, if you haven't been to dentalxp.com, which is, as far as I'm concerned, probably the best website in the world for any dental education, and I mean, I learn every day. We watch lectures all the time on Dental XP. There's new stuff. It's from the top people in the world. It's just an incredible website where you can go. You can do an online course as well. You can do everything that you want. And there's people way better than me teaching you implantology and how to do implantology and things like that. So there's all sorts of things, and obviously with us going online, it'll also give the ability for people to do things online. And then obviously courses. I think the one thing that's important to understand, that a 2-day course doesn't give you the opportunity or enough training, or having a rep come and hold your hand and tell you this is how you drill is not enough understanding. And I have to say also, I'll probably be shot down for this, but I think there are a lot of specialists coming out of universities as well, where there's no program in implantology. And there are a lot that do have phenomenal programs. So I have to just beware and be careful how I say this. But if you're a specialist and you've had no formal training in implantology, a lot of times your skill set in implantology is sometimes maybe just above that person that's just come out of dentistry, because the biology and the understanding of how to handle bone, how to handle soft tissue, and how to handle everything that you have, those are key factors to learning implantology. I mean, both of you have done our courses. I have no doubt, and I certainly know you both very well. So, I know the work that you're both doing so well, and how you've gone from from low level to absolutely phenomenal cases that I'm seeing you guys posting. So, it's a slow progression, and I think, so it's the one thing that one also has to say to young people, because young people always, they look, and I give a lecture and I show very advanced bone graft. It's like, whoa, I mean, how do you do? I also want to do that. I'm like, hold on a sec. I've been doing this for 30 years. Do you know what I'm saying? It took me 20 years to get to where I am, to have the development of techniques and stuff. I think there's no doubt that you can do it faster, because in my day and age, we didn't have internet. We didn't have this kind of social learning. We didn't have the kind of Facebook and things like that allowed us to kind of gleam. And I think you can see overall there's a general improvement in dentistry worldwide. I mean, if we used to look at some of the, let's just say, take Russian work for interest, we used to see a lot of Russian cases, large bridges, huge gold bridges, 7 units, huge overhangs, etc. I look at my Russian friends now, and my God, they are just incredible surgeons. They are doing work, and it's everywhere. Russia, Ukraine, places that you'd think, my God, where are these people coming from? And they are just experts in the field. So, as young people, take your time. Don't expect, you're not going to get everything in a day, but certainly. Take your time to learn. Take your time to do many courses. Don't do one course. There's so many online things that you can do. Learn from many different people, because, sometimes things that I say don't resonate with people. Yeah. And sometimes things that other people say don't resonate with the thing. So find a place that works for you. Find multiple people. Listen to multiple people. Don't be narrow-minded and boxed in with one group. Expand your horizons and grow.
Howard, one of the things I think holding a lot of people back is the kind of imposter syndrome we have, because we're always thinking the specialists are sitting there and thinking we shouldn't be doing these work. So what's the general feeling around specialists on general dentists placing implants?
That's a double-edged sword. It's not a difficult question. No, not at all. I think some specialists, I've been teaching general practitioners how to do implantology since 1996. Let's just get that straight. Yeah. We have been shot down. We've been fired. If I tell you the knives I've got in my back for that, and Mark Otto, my partner who developed the academy with me, and Andre van Sale as well, we took so much flack for teaching general practitioners how to do implantology. And really, the Maxillofacial Society had meetings about us. It was, everybody wanted to shut us down. Perios were unhappy. And still to this day, I have specialists who are like, it's not right what you're doing. You're taking work away from specialists. And can I tell you, I have 2 words for that. Two, I don't know if it's 2 words or 1 word, but it's bullshit. In essence, we as specialists, we are there to do the top cases, the difficult cases, the cases that most generalists cannot do. That's number 1. Number 2, as general practitioners, you are allowed to place implants. And if you are allowed to place implants, then it is my duty as a specialist to make sure that I train every general practitioner to do it properly. In fact, I've taken an oath. And part of that oath, I believe, is that we make sure that every person who wants to learn and who is able to do that is taught the technology, given the tools to do it properly, because that way that we do, as the Hippocratic Oath tells us, do no harm. So if we are holding back and general dentists are allowed to do the work and they are messing up, it is our responsibility. And there is no doubt in my mind about that. When it comes to specialists losing business, the only reason you're losing business if you're not doing well is your personality, and you need to look inwards. Not outwards. Because essentially, I've never been busier in my life, and every single one of my referrals places basic implants. Some of them do bone grafting, some of them do all sorts of things. And when the case is too challenging, where does it come? It comes to me. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to do the cases that either other people cannot do, There's some patients that don't want to be treated by general dentists and feel more comfortable, and they'll come to me. And I mean, I'm busy enough, lucky enough. I have that busyness. So all of those rationales that they use to say you shouldn't and you couldn't, and I'm probably going to get emails and phone calls from all sorts of specialists, and that's fine because I've had many in the past. But essentially, general practitioners are allowed to do implantology. That's it. They're allowed to do bone grafts. They're even allowed to do osteotomies. I don't know how many of them do, but you know, that's the way things work. And if you're allowed to do that, and a guy's doing it, then hey, we have the obligation to train them. And I think what's happening now is because we're actually seeing a lot more specialists coming on our courses. And I think that's really awesome, where specialists are starting, maxillofacials, periodontists, etc., are coming on our courses and learning the techniques that they haven't been taught. So from a maxillofacial point of view, it's how to do soft tissue surgery the way a periodontist does it. Or periodontists are coming to learn bone grafting techniques the way maxillofacials would do it, etc. So there's a lot of cross-pollination now, and I think slowly but surely that march is going there. And I think if one looks internationally, because as I say, the one thing I see internationally is that there are many, many brilliant experts overseas, and they are general practitioners who do both surgery and prosthetics. And I tell you, the work that they do inspires me on a daily basis, and I'm like, wow, this stuff blows me away. And that's where, why not? The other thing that one also has to think about, who does the best surgery is the guy who's doing the prosthetics, because when you see how the surgery gets messed up, you have to deal with the prosthetics. And I think every prosthetic guy in the world wishes he could place his own implants.
Worse is if you have to restore your own implant and you can't restore it, and you've got no one else to blame because you placed that implant in such a crap place.
That's exactly the problem.
Howard, when you get to your participants from your academy, can you see there's a lot of guys that come to the courses and never actually proceed? They just gather the knowledge, or do you see that most of the guys actually go on and use the knowledge in their practices?
I can't say that I have numbers that I could really give you an exact answer to that, but there is no doubt that a small percentage, and sometimes I think it depends on the course, a small percentage walk away with the knowledge, but are still fearful of placing the implants. But I think the majority are, especially at the basic level, the majority are starting to get into it. And I think especially economic times are becoming harder, and people are looking to diversify, and not just economics, but also out of interest. People are seeing so much on the internet that it's inspiring people to actually want to jump in and do implantology. So I think 10 years ago, it was probably different, where more people walked away and didn't place implants, whereas I think today more people walk away and actually carry on and place the stuff.
I've got to believe as a general dentist that you've kind of have to specialize in the field anyway, not specialize in the true sense of the word, but you've got to decide what you like, and you've got to get yourself as good as possible in that field. Do you agree with that? Like, let's say if you want to do implants, kind of stick to implants. Don't try and do implants and ortho and do everything well. Do you agree with that statement?
Not really. I mean, obviously it's a difficult question to ask. If you want to really, if you want to start getting into the level of implantology and bone grafting, I suppose that I do. I suppose one has to stick to that and really go that direction. But if you are driven and you are motivated, I see guys. I look at a guy like Maurice Alamo, who's both a perio and an orthodontist. They are perio ortho trained, and I have to tell you, I would love to do ortho, because if I could do ortho and I could learn to do different things and extrusions and stuff like that, wow, it would be absolutely amazing. I'm getting into a phase now where I'm also starting to do a little bit of my own prosto work. Do you know what I'm saying? Because, there's certain things that I want that I can't get from certain people, etc. And obviously digital dentistry has also made it a lot not easier, but it's just so dynamic that it's pushed me in that direction. And so I think there's the ability. I look at a guy also like Mark Bowes. I think you've probably spoken to Mark as well. You know, Mark does a little bit of ortho. He does his minor implant surgeries. He does incredible DSD and aesthetic work. You know, probably one of the best aesthetic dentists in the country, and really world class. You know, and you look at a guy like him and he's doing a little bit of everything, you know. I mean, I think certainly if you want to get to the highest level, then I think you have to specialize in one and certainly work in one and push yourself in one, or, you know, just keep training. And I think that's the great thing about online is that you can, okay, unless if you have no family and no children, you can basically do what you want. But you know, you could do online courses. I mean, you go to Dental XP, they've got a clear aligner course that you're doing, you know, which I'm actually taking at the moment on clear aligners. You can do a digital dentistry course that's run by the Aganini brothers, who are two brilliant digital guys that wrote an absolutely outstanding book on digital dentistry. You know what I mean? All these things are available. So I don't think you have to be a specialist anymore. I think a lot of people are moving away from that worldwide, that whole trend. And, you know, certainly it depends on what level you want to get to. But, you know, slowly you will build a castle. You know what I mean? You know, and I think that's the key, you know, not to try and think that you want to be the specialist to that level straight away. But if you don't start and you don't put your foot in, then you're never going to get anywhere. You know, if you don't put one foot in front of the other, you're never going to get to the end of the race. You have to start with 1 foot, and that 1 foot leads to 2, and suddenly you're a mile away, and then you're 2 miles, and then you're 3 miles, and then you're 4 miles, and before you know it, you look back and you're an expert. So why not?
When I started just restoring anterior implants as a young professional, I was always very disappointed the way the soft tissue looked, and I mean, it never looked like a tooth. And now we got to an age where we have partial extraction therapy that just changed the game completely. Can you just elaborate on your professorship and your whole journey around partial extraction therapy for us?
Yeah, it's not a professorship, just a PhD. A professor is a university post. That's fun, it's fun. But thank you for the accolade. I wish. Yeah, partial extraction therapy has been a very interesting tour. Again, it's one of those things that we've battled upstream for, you know, close to 8-9 years now, and I think all credit has to go to Christian Coachman, not to Christian Coachman. Sorry, I was listening to his podcast. He's on my mind. Has to go to Marcus Hertzler for bringing that, and then before that, what started it before that was submerged root therapy, which is Maurice Salama and Team Atlanta. So I think those are the two grandfathers of those techniques where. And I think the credit has to go to them for everything that they've done. I first heard Marcus Hertzler, funny enough, he probably mentioned it. He was in here in 2010, and I think it was just before his publication was published in 2010 in Journal of Perio, where they spoke of the proof of principle, the animal studies that they had. And I was like, okay, I'll wait a little bit. And my partner at the moment, Willie Ritz, periodontist that I work with, he got jumped in straight away. And I kind of waited 3 years until the second paper came out, and then I started doing it. So I didn't jump in the way some others did. But the minute I jumped in, you know, for me, I think one of the key factors, and it's a slide that I use wherever I lecture around the world. It has 2 words. It has predictability and reproducibility. Those are the two key words for me. And I think those 2 key words run through every part of implantology and dentistry that we have. And all through my life, I've banged my head. I've tried, I've done different techniques. I've done everything. I've tried to do what people have shown me overseas, and I've traveled, you know what I mean, to different countries. I've traveled to different experts, and I'm like, show me your technique, and I try their technique, and I succeed sometimes and I fail sometimes, but the success rate is just not there, which means my reproducibility, do you know what I mean, my predictability was not there. And I mean, I share your thing. It's one of my bugbears, because when we go to a conference, all we see is the brilliance. We see beauty, we see success. And I look at the case, I'm like, oh my God, I can't get that all the time. But there's that word again. It's called bullshit. Where people, unfortunately, and I can't say across the board, but people put their best foot forward, and we don't see the bottom drawer cases. We don't see the cases that don't work. As you say, all those cases that I've done everything that the experts have told me to do, everything. Okay, who's calling? But the problem is that when you try it, it just doesn't work the same way. And you get maybe 1 out of 10 cases or 2 out of 10 cases. And is that predictable? No, but you've got 2 out of 10 cases that you can show on a screen. You can say, hey, look how good this is. But I mean, that's great. And then comes the reproducibility, because then you come and you try a case and you fail and you think, well, is there something wrong with me? And most times you think that. You think, oh, I'm just a shit surgeon, or I'm a shit dentist, or I can't do the work the same way everybody else does. But in actual fact, the technique's shit. And this is where Socket Shield really came in and changed my life, irreversibly. I mean, it was absolutely an eye-opener. I was doing root submergence already before that. Root submergence, I'd started my first case in 2008, and I still have one case that I follow up. I've got, I think, 10-year follow-up on her already. And I mean, the results are just staggering of her case. And when Socket Shield came in, it just made so much biological sense. And that was the key. It just made sense. And when I tried it, my first one worked. And then I tried it again, and my second one worked. And my third one worked. And my fourth one failed. And my fifth one worked. And my sixth one worked. And I was getting like 7, 8 out of 10, which is not the norm for new techniques. Normally, there's such a huge learning curve for all of these techniques that it takes you almost like 50, 60 cases before you get to the level of the masters who are standing up and showing you the cases. And certainly you can get to a level with techniques where you have 2 out of 10 successes. You can improve, you can get better, you can, because you have to learn all the nuances of that technique. But this is a technique that doesn't require those nuances. That's the most amazing thing. And that's where what was so amazing is that the day that I started, I was already getting successful cases almost immediately. And my success rate was high. It wasn't low. And the great thing about it is that anywhere I talk in the world, people have complications. There's no doubt. And we have complications in every single treatment modality that I do. I have complications in everything. There's not a single one that I don't have. So, people lead with but this, I had this complication. Of course you're going to have it. Have you ever done a course? No. Have you got the right instruments? No. Well, okay. Well, what do you expect? Have you read the publications? Yeah, I read the abstract. You know what I mean? Not good enough. You need to do your homework and you need to do your work. But the interesting thing about Socket Shield specifically is that I see so many what I would call incorrectly done techniques in Socket Shield. And yet the overlying success, what the soft tissue looks like, what the emergence of crown looks like is still better than anything that you'd get if you extracted the tooth. And therein lies the key. Is that the body, because it's biology and because it's biologically based, the body seems to accept what can be done. And even though it's not done 100% correctly, the body seems to manage it because it's biological. Now, I do not say that that's okay, because it's not okay. You need to learn the technique. You need to develop your skill set. You need to do a course. You need to make sure that you understand. And what we've done, I think, where we have gone with myself and Jonathan and Maurice, what we have done with what we've developed is that we've slowly started to change the way things work to try and make it so that it is reproducible for everybody. And that's the key. So that not just people at my level of dentistry or Maurice Salama's level of dentistry can do it and show wonderful results, but the man in the street or the woman in the street can do the same thing. I think that's the key. And there'll be a new publication. We've just got a new publication coming out in the International Journal of Aesthetic Dentistry, where we've just put, it's a new step-by-step that I put together, which I think really makes it much more user-friendly. So I've kind of deconstructed the technique as much as possible and thought of all the potential pitfalls, and then tried to introduce something which I think we've done successfully. And certainly I've been teaching it now for the last year, because obviously getting a publication out doesn't take things. So I've been teaching that technique, and I'll be talking about it. I'm doing another a Zoom podcast, not a podcast, but a kind of mini webinar with Omid Mohagadas from Iran, basically on that technique itself. So if I can just give a shout out to his little webinar there, to join me if you want to have some.
Available.
I'm not sure. I think I've got a couple of webinars this week, and then I think next week probably we'll do that. So. But I'll certainly give the times and stuff like that, and it's certainly advertised widely on Facebook. So Omid will do that, and we're going to talk basically about that step-by-step protocol, and show the photos, and share how we do it. Because again, from my point of view, the more people that learn to do it properly, and the more people that do it as good as I can do it, that's what you want to get. That's what you want to achieve. You want to achieve it so that everybody can do it as well and as predictably as I can. Because I tell you, I have very few failures anymore, and we're busy with a prospective study where we already have 1 year data ready to go, and I just have to sit down after everything, all the dust settles from this terrible time that we're in, to sit down with Jonathan and start putting that data together. And that'll be something else, because we have now 1 year data with 100% success. We've eliminated complications down from 20% to almost 3%, which is phenomenal. So PET has been a wonderful journey. And then partial extraction therapy was just kind of packaging it. And that came from Dental XP and the Dental XP group, and especially Maurice Salama, who's so brilliant at putting all these little acronyms together. So credit must go where credit is due. So partial extraction therapy was just kind of the umbrella group of the techniques. Pontic Shield was my technique where I started struggling. Where can I do roots where I can't do root submergence? Can I not do something like that? And then I came up with Pontic Shield, and subsequently, I mean, we'd already written the publication. Then Glocker came out with his delayed socket shield technique. So, kind of was like, we crossed our paths in the air. So Pontic Shield was something that we developed, which came under the umbrella. And I think slowly but surely different techniques with regards to retaining tooth, like drilling through the root where you're keeping a canine, an impacted canine, that'll probably fall under partial extraction therapy as well at some stage. But it's been a wonderful journey. I mean, a wonderful journey with incredible people. And the most amazing thing is that we've actually passed the tipping point of socket shield and partial extraction therapy. And what's great is that at every conference I go to, there's now, if it's not a lecture on its own, somebody's talking about it in a lecture, whereas before it was a complete taboo. And, I would even go to conferences where say you're not allowed to mention socket shield.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Which was crazy, you know what I mean? But it's like, that's the natural process of development. And it's like turning a tanker, you know what I mean? It takes a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of space. You know what I mean?
Howard, you mentioned earlier we're in a very excited time of dentistry with digital dentistry and all the stuff you're talking about. So it's really, to be a young dentist now, it's really an amazing place to be in. But I just want to move away from dentistry a little bit. The podcast is called the More Than Dentistry Podcast. So I want to talk about that BMW R9T you've got. Have you still got that one?
Oh, baby, I just wish I could ride it. If I tell you it's the only thing that's driving me nuts is not being able to ride. I'm not a fancy. I don't have fancy cars, and I really don't care for fancy cars. I've never been a biker and I've never cared for bikes. I've driven a Vespa for the last 15 years. I still have it in my garage. I rode to work on a Vespa. I ride around town on my Vespa, and it was really my go-to. I virtually don't even drive a car. And about a year and a half ago, I walked past this R9T Scrambler, and it was just like, it's the first time I actually was like, oh my God, it was like a piece of art. You know, it was like literally looking at a piece of art, and I'm like, wow. I was just like, that is the sickest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I started doing some YouTube reviews, and I checked, and the reviews weren't all positive. But you want it. You know what I mean? So you start looking only for the positive reviews, never mind the negative reviews. And I just kind of started looking at it, and you know what I mean. And I went into BMW, and we've got one, and I looked at it, and when I went and I saw a new one, then it was like, then you start to customize it online. You can customize it on the Motorrad BMW website. It's like, wow, that aluminium tank would really look cool, and etc. And so the second time I went in, I just like, no, damn it, fuck it, I'm buying it. And I have to tell you, I'm no motorbiker. I've ridden a motorbike. I used to own a motorbike without my parents' knowledge when I was young. I used to park on the street. I used to have a 50cc that I used to ride around on. But that was like 30 years ago, so I had no clue. So I really had to learn from scratch. I fell off the bike a few times, tore my calf muscle falling off. But I have to tell you. My wife also has bought a bike. She rode a little bit, and she then bought a Triumph Street Twin. Oh, nice. She got into it, and now the two of us are complete, absolute biker nuts. I just, I wherever I drive, wherever I go, and I see a bike, it's just I'm like, I've got to look at the bike, I've got to see it. It's just become a crazy passion, and now we've customized our bikes, and they just. I can't wait to jump on that bike. So I ride it everywhere. I can't remember the last time I drove a car.
Have you done some longer trips, some trips down the garden route?
Not major as yet. My life has been too busy. Traveling as much as I do, and when you get home, actually the one thing you want to do is actually spend time at home with family and friends and children and my lovely wife who you see walking past here. But it's in the pipes. As soon as things start to calm down, then certainly I think we'll get on our bikes and do a nice long ride.
So Howard, what we're going to do, as soon as we can get back to a course for you, we're going to go down to Cape Town, and then we're going to take the bikes and go around the peninsula on the Sunday morning, if you don't mind.
That would be
me and Waldo can rent some bikes, and we'll just take it for a trip.
Have you guys? I assume you've ridden before.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of riding. I had to sell my bike when I bought my boat, and then I sold my boat when I bought my paraglider. So I'm like changing toys as much as I go on. But I've got a 4-year-old son, so I won't be getting onto bikes soon again. But I'd love to get back on a bike. Yeah. I've been following you on Instagram with that bike with a lot of envy, I must say.
Yeah, I must say I love it. And Waldo, are you biking at all? Do you have any bikes?
The last time that I rode a bike, I think I crashed it in the parking lot. So I'm really not that great at riding bike.
I have to tell you, I did go and I took lessons. Both my wife and I went and took lessons, and that was critical to learn. And I watch a lot of videos on how not to fail. And I think the key for me is that I'm not there for speed. I'm not there to be an idiot and go as fast as I can. I just enjoy the ride. It's just like, I feel so badass. That's the coolest thing is I get on and people look at you like you're some kind of scumbag, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a scumbag. You know what I mean?
you know what I love? You know what I like about riding is in our job, you constantly got a noise in your ear. You've got people talking. You've got to be communicating to people the whole time. But once you get on a bike, you've got your helmet on, and you're like anonymous to the world. No one can bother you. You can't answer your phone, and you can just ride for an hour or two, and you get back and you're quite revitalized and quite energized after that ride. That's what I enjoy about riding. Like you said, you don't need to speed or anything, but just getting away from the noise.
I think one thing on top of that, I agree with you 100% with everything you've said. And I think one thing on top of that is also when you get on a bike, you have to concentrate on the riding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? You've got to make sure that you don't fall off, that you watch. You've got to really watch. You've got to be so careful on that bike. And I think that's another cool thing where it really just kind of, it shuts down your mind to the noise of the world, not just everything else. You actually just like, okay, stay alive, look left, look right, make sure you know what you're doing, be careful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at the camber of the road, how you're turning, come slow down. You know what I mean? Who's coming? What's this car doing? You know, that's what you're thinking all the time. So I pretty much like that as well, that I have to concentrate so hard on something else.
Howard, I think we should wrap this up. I think your wife wants you to go back home. Valde, have you got any more questions to ask?
Well, I maybe just want to say something. A long time ago, I was getting bored in my practice, and I saw an advert for a position at the Implant Academy, and I actually had the balls to actually apply for the work. And I got to the interview with Howard, and I was a little bit starstruck on the one side. And he really asked me very important questions as to how I'm seeing dentistry and how am I doing dentistry. And for most guys would probably say, oh, it's a massive failure, didn't get a job. But what I walked out there with was a newly found passion and a drive like you had, was to pursue excellence in my own practice. And that's just something that I want to thank Howard for, probably unbeknownst to yourself, but that was something that inspired me a hell of a lot. Thanks.
But I have to say, if I can say back at you now, if I look at the work that you are doing now, I think if you applied again, you'd probably be more than welcome to come back. And it's certainly something that we are expanding. You know, we are expanding with the number of proctors and mentors that are coming back and actually teaching. So, you know, if you guys are always interested, I mean, I know the work you guys are doing, and if you're interested in that, you know, once you've done all the courses, you are welcome to come and help us and just sit and learn. And it's a valuable thing to have, and we're expanding, because I think the key at the moment for me is that the academy stops becoming about me, stops becoming about Howard Gluckman, and starts to develop its own base and its own people. And we are starting to do that. And my ultimate goal is that we are able to, in the not too distant future, to actually start to develop into a private dental university in South Africa. So that's my ultimate goal. And that requires people, and it requires people who are passionate, people who are not happy with mediocrity, people that want to share their knowledge openly, freely, and I think more importantly, honestly. Share your failures, share your successes, share everything that you've got. Just open up everything. You know what I mean? Just share it, the bare bones of it. You know what I mean? Where you failed, where you've succeeded, why, what's your journey been? That's what we're looking to achieve. And I think if we can achieve that, then I would safely say that I've done what I want to do in life. I could sit back and go sit on the stoop and and drink whiskey for the rest of my life.
You're far away from that, so don't get too relaxed.
No, that's true. They're going to have to nail me into my coffin.
Exactly. Howard, we're going to wrap it up there. I want to just take this time to thank you for what you do for us in South Africa. We're super proud of you when you're on the world stage, and it's lucky to see our flag behind your name every time you speak in a world congress. We want to honor you for the work and the stuff you've done for me and Valdo personally. We want to thank you for that. And thanks so much for all the cases that we send to you and you help us with. It's really a pleasure to have you on our phone. And thank you for what you do. And thanks for the time that you had set aside for tonight to speak to us.
You are most welcome, and we can do it anytime. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you guys, and well done for where you're going. It's a pleasure and an honor. And I just want to tell you, just on a final note from my side, there is nothing that makes a teacher more proud. Nothing that makes a teacher more proud than to watch their students rise and even surpass them. I think for me, nothing makes me prouder, and proud of you guys and proud of any other students that do that. It is the ultimate accolade to any teacher and anyone who shares knowledge. So thank you.
So thanks so much. If you listen to the podcast, go to the Implants and Aesthetic Academy Facebook page. Where's the best place for students to go look at your stuff? Facebook, Instagram, or what should they do?
I think if they can join us both on Facebook and Instagram, we're going to be starting with, there's a whole new series coming with the online stuff. So Facebook's got all the videos and stuff like that, and we'll continue to post new videos and things like that on their cases and stuff that you can learn from. Certainly Instagram, a lot of quick things that you can get to. Myself, Mark Bowes, will start off. There's a whole thing coming now. Jean and Cornet are going to do something within the next few days on coronavirus and how it's affected business and how South Africans can help themselves from a business point of view, and that'll come on Facebook and Instagram. So look out for that. Go like us. Go join our page, and I think you'll be very excited. We are working really hard at the moment to get content out, especially during this difficult time. So join us. It would be an honor to have you, and come criticize us, come be positive, come be negative, all of it. It's all welcome.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Just go back to your wife and have a lucky evening. Have a lucky glass of wine.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.